Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3892 AN. Today's date is April 27th, 2026, and the title of the episode is, Did Elon show the world the central bank economy is an illusion? Bitcoin gold boom coming. Now, you know what's very interesting? If you're like me and you're getting to that age where your body just feels sluggish and off all the time, then listen up. Because Dr. Josh explains that most of the time, this is caused by clogged liver. You probably already heard about how important your liver is for detoxification, digestion, and energy levels. But here's the thing. Most people have no idea how clogged and overburdened the liver actually is. Eating processed food, drink, and even stress, these things can take a toll, leaving your liver clogged. And it's important not to let this go unchecked because your liver is the most important organ in your body, being responsible for the proper function of nearly every system in your body, from digestion to metabolism to detoxification. Essentially, a healthy liver equals a healthy you. That's why Dr. Josh, a practicing doctor with over 25 years medical experience, formulated a special liver supplement called Ultra Liver that acts like a deep cleanse for your entire body. He told me that Ultra Liver just crossed over 500,000 bottles sold and has received thousands of 5-star reviews from happy customers and patients. So say goodbye to chronic fatigue, bloating, and skin, and say hello to renewed energy, clear thinking, and a body that is operating 100% again. And this is powerful stuff. You're not going to get results like this from any random liver supplement. Dr. Josh put his 25 plus years of experience into Ultra Liver to make sure that it actually does what it's supposed to. So if you're ready to unclog your liver and flush the dangerous toxins that are sapping your energy and preventing you from losing weight, just go to tryultraliver.com/X22 to get your hands on Ultra Liver today. By the way, it's your lucky day because Dr. Josh is running a summer sale where you can get up to 50% off Ultra Liver for a limited time. But this special offer is only available through our link for our audience. The link is right below this video in the description box. Do yourself a favor and go click it and take back control of your liver health today. That is tryultraliver.com/X22. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. We have discussed many times before that the central bank system, they had to keep the illusion alive to make you believe that the economy that you're in today is an actual working economic system. And to do that, they had to manipulate quite a bit. They manipulated the calculations, which means they manipulated unemployment, GDP, and they manipulated it in many different ways. When we say manipulation, it doesn't mean, hey, they just changed the calculations, and in many cases they have. But in other ways, they were able to manipulate it to make you think something's happening when it really isn't. And they needed to do this because as their system continues on, it breaks down over time. And as it breaks down, it causes many things to occur in the economy, like inflation, like you don't get a job. You have to work harder and harder and maybe get 1, 2, 3 jobs, part-time jobs, not even full-time jobs. Everything becomes very expensive because of their system. So when you start to look at this, you can see that they needed a way to convince the people that everything that you're witnessing, everything that you're seeing is not true. The numbers tell a different story. Now, we saw this when we went back, if we go back to Biden/Obama time, where they try to convince everyone, hey, the inflation that you're feeling right now, the higher cost of food, the higher cost of fuel, this is your imagination because the numbers tell a completely different story. That is a form of manipulation or actually gaslighting, lying. So you could see this is what they've been doing for a very long time. And it seems like Elon Musk came out and let everyone know how the system is controlled to make you think that the economy is doing a lot better than it actually is. And it seems like he has now blown the lid off of this, and people are going to start to realize that we're living in a gigantic lie. It's one gigantic illusionary system. And like we said from the very beginning, the deep state players know that their illusionary system breaks down over time. They know after a long period of time, they won't be able to control it. So they like to bring the system down on their own. They don't want something to happen where they can't control the system coming down. They actually want a controlled demolition, but they want to make you think that they had nothing to do with it. And that's what they were trying to do during the Biden administration and as he handed it off to Trump, because, again, they set it up for the system to fail. They never expected Trump to come in and work so quickly in establishing the parallel economic system. Now, think about it. Trump, he knew what they were doing this entire time. He knew that they were destroying the economy. They were following the Green New scam, trying to bring us into the central bank system that they were creating. And this is the new system that they were creating, where they were going to go completely digital, where they were going to have a centralized currency. They were going to control the entire thing. And Trump came out of the gate where he went full speed ahead in doing what? He created the parallel tariff system. Actually, if you go back to Andrew Jackson and McKinley, this is what they have done. They've created this incredible tariff system to fund the government. And I know a lot of people think that we can't do it today, but of course you can. All you got to do is remove everything the central bank put into place. All you got to do is take the government that we have today, and as you could see, most of the programs that they created on these organizations that you think that we need, we really don't. It's part of their system, and this is why they've done it, because they want you to think and believe that we need all this. We need all the agencies. We need all these people in there. Otherwise, we can't function. They put everyone on the government and made them dependent on the government to make you believe that this is the way it is and we can't remove the people and we need these agencies. But again, if you have an actual economic system that works and you have sound money, you don't need any of this. The only reason we have this today is because their system breaks down over time. And if the system breaks down over time and you're not creating jobs, you're moving manufacturers out of this country, moving corporations out of this country, you need a way to keep everyone happy. And what do? You put everyone on the government. You make them dependent on the government because this is the only way you can do it. And now you could see Trump is basically breaking apart this illusion that they've created. And he's doing it very, very quickly. As soon as he came into office, he implemented the tariff system. He moved very, very quickly to establish it. He did this on purpose to counter what they were trying to do. And what were they trying to do? They were trying to bring the entire economic system down. Because remember, Biden said, I'm handing Trump a strong economy. Actually, he handed them the weakest economy that probably we've ever seen. And they were hoping that he wouldn't be able to do anything. He was going to play within the central bank illusionary economy. And the whole thing was just going to come completely and utterly down. I don't think they expected him to start the tariff system. I don't think they expected him to do the things that he did. And he kind of countered all of it. He's still countering it all and actually building the new system where it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, competing with the central bank system and actually overshadowing everything that they tried to do. But there are countries out there, which we know, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Colombia, they're following the entire plan of the deep state, the central bankers. They're following the Green New scam. Colombia's environment minister says the country is leading the way on transitioning away from the fossil fuels and listening to the science. However, the stress of the fiscal and the external debt is huge, but we have to continue working on that. Colombia's minister is speaking at the first international meeting dedicated to phasing out fossil fuels, where more than 50 countries are gathering, excluding China, Russia, India, and the U.S. Isn't that interesting? Those are the countries that are not going along with this. Because you have to remember, the deep state, the central bankers, what did they want to do? They wanted to shift everything to China. Remember, China was getting cheap energy, and it's not really fossil fuels. They just use that to make you think that it's limited. But actually, the earth continually creates the oil that we need. And we could see they're moving down this path. Now, what's going to happen, just like with every other country, they're not going to have an infrastructure in the end. Because you remember, the United States, Russia, China, India, moving in a completely different direction. And if they don't change course very soon, they're going to be left in the dust. And you could see that as of right now, yes, they're still pushing the same agenda. Eventually, probably by next year, they're going to realize this is the wrong direction, and it might be too late for them. Let's see how this plays out. This will be very, very interesting. But the other thing that we could see, and we mentioned this just yesterday, is that California's billionaire tax has the signatures to make the ballot. This is what the backers are saying. Now, again, what do you think is going to happen when they implement the billionaire tax? If that ever even happens, it's going to destroy the entire state. Because what do you think the billionaires are going to do? They're going to leave the state. Then what's going to be left? Oh, the millionaires. So they'll say, all right, forget it, slash it. It's not billionaire tax, it's the millionaire tax. And what do you think the millionaires are going to do? They're going to leave the state. Then they're going to say, okay, anyone that's making, what, 200,000, 300,000, we're going to tax you. Eventually, it's going to completely and utterly fall apart around them. This type of system never works. The only reason they need this is because California, once again, is the template of the Green New Scam, and they're following this path. And in the end, it's going to be a complete and utter disaster. Wall Street Maverick responds to this and says, it is stunning that they are going to go through with this. Everyone who can do the math recognizes that this will result in less tax revenue coming in. Because the proposed tax is retroactive to January 2026, wealthy people with $1 trillion in assets have already moved. Those people paid massive amounts of income and capital gains tax already. Whenever they sold stock, they paid California taxes. It is all gone now. It is estimated that $25 billion in annual tax revenue has already departed California, and it will likely get worse in future years as the last remaining super rich exit the state. The proposed law has wording buried in it that will allow the legislature to go after everyone, not just the billionaires. The wealth tax will be pushed down to just regular rich with a few $1 million in assets. And in the end, what's going to happen is everyone's going to have to be taxed. This is the same trick the central bankers played on everyone when they formed the central bank back in 1913 moving forward. And again, you could see they're doing this because they are trapped right now. This is why a lot of the blue states have exit taxes right now, because they're realizing, holy crap, a lot of people are leaving. And if all these people leave, we're losing our tax base. So we might as well make up the difference by charging them an exit tax. At least we're getting something as they leave the state. And in the end, their state's going to completely and utterly implode. Did you know a popular looks maxing streamer said Gavin Newsom would beat J.D. Vance in the 2020 election because Vance was overweight and Gavin is better looking? Then Vance showed up to a recent interview looking completely transformed. Just weeks after the comment, everyone's pointing to GLP-1 type of drug, the same type of weight loss drug that 31 million Americans are on. But here's the thing. You don't need a prescription or a needle to get those results. This is why I'm obsessed with the particular GLP-1 supplement instead of a pharmaceutical override. It uses plant-based clinical studied ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own hunger controlling signals. I get the same fullness and fewer cravings without the prescriptions, needles, or the growing list of side effects making headlines. It supports my weight management while protecting my metabolism so I can keep the results for good. To kick off spring, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. And this is what they wanted to do to the country. Think about that for a second. They wanted the country to implode. They wanted the entire system to crash. They set it up so when Trump came into office, this would happen. But Trump played a fast one on them and actually built a brand new system that competed with the central bank system and kept the pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower the rates, not raise the rates. And they had to come down a little bit. This is a major, major problem for the deep state, the central bankers. And it seems like Elon is out there and he's letting everyone know that, yeah, the economy that you're in today is a gigantic illusion. Dustin put this out and said, Elon Musk just used the joke to perform an autopsy on the American economy. He says, two economists go for a hike. They find a pile of shit. One pays the other $100 to eat it. They keep walking, find another pile. The second economist pays $100 back to eat that one. They stop. Neither man gained $1. Both ate shit for nothing. But on paper, they just generated $200 in GDP. Musk, that basically would count as a job. This is to illustrate the absurdity of economics. That is not a punchline. That is the operating system of the federal government. Every time a politician celebrates record job creation, this is what they're describing. Not output, not value, not progress, motion. The entire bureaucratic machine exists to manufacture friction and then invoice for it. compliance layers built to justify the next compliance layer, oversight committees that produce nothing but the need for more oversight, consulting firms hired to audit the work of other consulting firms, trillions circulating through the system that have never produced a single thing you can hold in your hands, but the GDP number ticks up. So everyone applauds. The shit gets eaten. The scoreboard moves. Nobody asks what actually got built. This is why Washington treats AI like a 5-alarm fire. AI does not play the friction game. It does not form a committee. It does not schedule a review. It does not file 400 pages of paperwork no one will ever read. It just solves the problem. And that is the one thing the machine cannot survive. The government does not tax results. It taxes the process. The longer the process, the deeper the cut. AI compresses a 10-day workflow into seconds. There's nothing left to build, nothing left to tax, nothing left to skim. So they will spend the next decade warning you that AI threatens the economy. What they will never say is what it actually threatens. The illusion that activity equals progress. The $200 economy where both men ate shit and called it a job, the machines are not coming for your purpose. They're coming to prove that half the economy never had one. And that's what they've done from the very, very beginning. They've manipulated the calculations. They manipulated everything to make you think the economy is actually growing when it is not. The only thing that's growing is the borrowing of currency, the expansion of the agency, the funneling of the money into their system. That is what's growing. I mean, think about it. Go back in time, and we mentioned this before. When the central bank came into existence, and I'm talking about 1971, I'm not saying going all the way back to 1913, and we came off the gold standard, their entire mission was to move the jobs out of this country. So to make you believe that the jobs were being created, what did they do? They just moved where they were being created. Okay, instead of the private sector creating the jobs, the government was creating the jobs. But how were they creating the jobs? By borrowing currency. And this kept the job numbers up. But again, did these people produce anything? Was there a GDP number attached to this? Was there anything? No. It was a spot that a person filled that did absolutely nothing. Actually, it was a drain on the economic system to convince you that there's been no inflation in this country. They manipulated the calculation and they said, look at this year. We got 2%. We got only 3%. Oh, it's 4%. They never told you that it was cumulative over time. This is why we don't have 1971 prices. This is why we can never get back to that point in time, because they didn't want anyone to know. The reason why we have inflation is because it's the creation of currency. Yes, later on, we saw prices move up and down because of oil, because of illegals. But again, you're not inflating the currency away. You're actually creating a problem. And like, for example, illegals coming into the country and you give them rentals. Well, if these people know that they're going to get a certain amount of money from the government, you can raise the prices, which raises it for everyone. Is this inflating away the currency? Not really, because it's manipulating the price on just the rentals, not on everything. When you look at inflation, it affects everything. And yes, you can mitigate the inflation with lowering the energy costs. You can make inflation worse by raising the energy costs. But again, those are just parts of the system. So the entire system that they've created was to keep you believing that it's working when it really isn't. Trump, what he's building right now is a system that works for the people. And this is what they're trying to stop, because they don't want people to move into this new system. They need to stop it before it happens, because once it happens, this is going to have a domino effect across the globe. Because again, all those countries that are heading down the Green New Scam, taking that path, like Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Colombia, and the rest, what do you think is going to happen to those countries? They're going to get worse and worse. And they're going to be looking at the U.S. and all those countries that are not following that path, and they're going to say, why are they getting so strong? Why are they creating jobs? Why is manufacturing being built in those countries? Why isn't inflation affecting them? They're going to see the opposite happening right now. And people are going to have a lot of questions. This is why the deep state central bankers are trying to stop all this. And think about it. Since Trump has been out in Iran, and again, there's a lot of things he has to basically dismantle. And one of them is the cheap energy going to China, the centralized location of pricing the oil, as he's dismantling all of this, I do believe all that money that has been going into oil, of course, to make a profit, I do believe they're going to take that money as oil comes down and bring it right back to Bitcoin, bring it right back to gold and silver. So I do believe when all's said and done and Iran finally says, okay, we've had enough, and Trump has complete and utter control, and oil starts to drop, you're going to see money flow back to precious metals, back into Bitcoin. And you're going to see a major change within the economy as time goes on. And people are going to see that this was just a excursion, a detour for a little bit. And now once we come back to the main road, we're going to see things continue on. And I do believe as time goes on, you're going to see fuel prices, because we're going to have a glut of oil. I mean, just think about how much oil is going to hit the market. You're going to see prices really start to come down. We're going to see it come down through the summer. We're going to see it come down into the fall. Now, is this going to hit rock bottom during this period of time? Probably take another 6 to 8 months to hit rock bottom. And we're going to see very, very low energy prices, which is actually going to help Trump quite a bit in the next 2 years after that. Because again, all the manufacturing plants will be built. Energy be really cheap. He'll have inflation completely under control. Maybe he'll even start paying back the debt, actually exposing the debt and showing everyone maybe we don't owe this much debt. So I do believe there's going to be a lot changing right now, but I do believe in the short term right now, once the excursion is over and the oil is set free and Iran is no longer in control, the deep state players, the central bankers are no longer in control, and oil starts to drop, we're going to see that money find its way back to gold and silver and Bitcoin. And I do believe we're going to see a boom. And it's just waiting to happen. And I do believe it will. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.